bit. Again, we do try to get out here on time. However, this is a board meeting, and as such, board business, and as such, sometimes the time constraints are not always as we would like. So we super appreciate each and every one of you. Dr. Ross should be here. You can keep the music going. Wednesday, September 18th, this is a regular Poughkeepsie City School District Board meeting, and we're going to stand and have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank each and every one of you for your patience, and as I said, we apologize. Legal counsel was in town physically, which is atypical, and so there were a variety of things that we had to go over. Also, being that it is the beginning of a school year, not just because of that, there's just so much going on from a legal perspective. And executive session, one of the board members, you want to tell them what executive session is? So what we do before this, any board member?
Executive session is when we discuss personnel or just legal counsel issues in the district.
And so they're not things that we can discuss on the floor, and that's why sometimes we come out late, because it takes time. They're not things that can be exposed or discussed on the floor. They're either personnel related or attorney-client privileged information. And so unfortunately, we cannot discuss them openly, so we arrive here early. Just so you're aware, board members, we get here typically and start executive session at 5:30. Many are coming just from work to kick off executive session, and we're here straight through the end of the meeting. So we just want you aware of that, because I think sometimes people are not knowledgeable of the process of the board meeting. At this time, we're going to open the floor for citizens' comments. We're going to have the policy first pulled up. I believe policy 2370. And we're just going to allow it to be up, and if you can scroll down so we can see it, if everyone can please read it. Anyone that will be coming to the microphone, so you know exactly what to do, because there's policy. Everything that we do is driven by policy or education law, so that you see specifically what the constraints are and what you should or should not be doing when you come to the microphone when it comes to citizens' comments. We value your comments. We value exactly what you're saying. And so we want you to make sure, though, that you're knowledgeable of what should or should not take place. If anyone needs additional information right now from me, I have no problem drilling down on any of the points so that there's great clarity. At this time, the floor is open for citizens' comments.
Hi, my name is Cornelia Harris. I live at 40 South Randolph Avenue. A couple things I wanted to mention. The back-to-school night at Krieger is happening tomorrow night. Parents got a flyer on Monday, so we need to do better, because parents need to have more than 3 days' notice if there's going to be a back-to-school night. I know there's a new communications system in the works, so I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we need to do better than that. Dr. Watson visited our school garden at the ELC in the summer. That was amazing. Thank you. We need to have some more staff for our buildings and grounds folks. The ELC garden still has not been mowed since that time. The kids, I have some Vassar students who are ready to come out and work with our teachers at the ELC to do some planting in that garden, but they can't get in there because of the weeds. So that's a staffing thing. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that a bunch of parents, it's come to our attention that the after-school care is ending May 7th. So I just wanted to start thinking about that now, so that we can maybe find some way to put a stopgap in place from May 7th till the end of the school year to support our families that need the after-school care. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harris. Other citizens' comments?
Hello, my name is Rihanna Creevy, and I'm a 10th grader at Poughkeepsie High School. I am here today to bring awareness to the Poughkeepsie Middle School pool. One major issue is that the pool temperature is getting colder every week, which is making the girls' swim team not have home meets. With the cold temperatures, some of the new girls may not want to come back next year because they don't want to be cold when they must walk home from practice, which will eventually lead to the girls' swim team to get smaller each year. Another major issue is the upkeeping of the pool. There is a broken block and a lane line that's broken, which is another issue for home meets. Since home meets have to either be canceled or rescheduled, it is making our swim team suffer. Our Lady of Lourdes High School also uses our pool, and they are also suffering the same issues our team is having. Due to these few issues, one solution that might be an idea to consider is fixing the pool's cover to try keeping the water from getting even colder, which can possibly help us have home meets sooner. Please take the words I said tonight and understand my concerns. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what did you say your last name was, Rihanna?
Creevy.
Creevy. So, Ms. Creevy, first of all, thank you so very much for coming to the microphone. You said you're a 10th grader, correct? Wonderful. I think it's a wonderful thing. One of the things at the district, and we talk about that we are champions of our students. So we want to commend you for being an upstander and for coming to the microphone to voice your opinion, not just yours, but those of your, the other swim timber members. What I'm going to ask you to do is to introduce those that are standing, please.
Okay. This is Grace Clifford, Julia Quezada, Lindsay Price, and Ariel Dandridge, and then Coach Tiff is with us too.
Let's give them a hand. This is what it's about. This is where the rubber meets the road. Now we're going to turn it over to the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Eric Rosser. You all know who this man is?
Yeah,
You,
I visit them today.
oh, you visit with the pool folks today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other students that are going to provide comments? Okay, why don't we allow the students to provide comments?
Perfect.
And then I can.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Grace Clifford. I'm a 9th grader at Poughkeepsie High School, and I'm here to talk about the pool too. I know at this point in time, because it's the beginning of the school year, you're probably overwhelmed with a lot of things that we don't know about, and you're going to be fixing things behind closed doors that we can't understand right now because you can't share it with us. But the legal temperature to have meets in a pool is 78 degrees. For the past 2 weeks, our pool has been at 73 degrees, but it's like our field. We're like, if we were football players, our pool is our field. It's where we practice. It's the only way we get better is if we swim in the pool that we're given. We're a team of insanely strong girls. You know, we are fast and smart and quick-witted and good with words, and we know that we have to do the best with what we're provided, and that's what we're trying to do. But at the same time, it's like no one's paying attention to the problem, even though it's been brought to so many different levels of people who are saying that they're trying to help us, but all they're doing is talking about it instead of working to make it better. And I know it's financially draining, and I know it's something that you might not be able to handle by yourselves. So I might be speaking for myself, but I know that everyone who's in the audience and a lot of people who weren't able to make it tonight are more than willing to help you in any way that we can. I'm just asking that you try to hear that it's a problem.
Thank you, Ms. Clifford. So I just want to say this about Ms. Clifford. I think when she was about maybe, 5 years ago, so she's in the 10th, so she is 14 now. Maybe when she was about 9, a little 9-year-old, I had the privilege of meeting her. And I remember at that time saying to her is that we need you for our ambassador. And now you're 14, Ms. Clifford? 14 years old. And she was coming to the microphone at 9 years old. And she's taken a stand because she loves the Poughkeepsie City School District. And just want to commend you and all of the young ladies for your comments. Now we're going to get to solutions because you've come to the right place at the right time. And Dr. Rosser will speak to you at this time.
Yeah. So I applaud the courageousness of our student body. This morning, I had an opportunity to wake up to 3 emails from students on the swim team. And when I say I was pleased to wake up to those emails. As I was reviewing the emails, the students were extremely articulate in articulating their concerns about the pool and the condition of the pool, as well as this being a long-standing issue for the city. They were very well knowledged on the challenges of our pool, particularly with the heating element being a solar heating element during the summer and the spring months, as well as sometime going into the fall. They were very familiar with a number of things regarding the pool. What I liked most about their comments and their articulation of their concern was that they were willing to step up as students and be a part of the solution. That moved me to the point where this afternoon, prior to, I dipped out of my office for a few minutes and made my way over to the middle school to meet with the young ladies to articulate to them that I was very much aware of the challenges of our pool and that I would continue, working on addressing the issue. The issue was brought to my attention a couple weeks ago, and as I shared with the young ladies, that we are working to address those situations. I cannot guarantee that the situation will be addressed before the end of the season, but moving forward, this is a high priority of mine to make sure that our young ladies who are competitors, who need to practice in order to be able to compete, are equipped with the ability to do so without having to worry about any sort of outside influences, and in this case would be the temperature of the pool or that starting block that you shared with me in the email. Understanding that this is a challenge and has been a challenge for our district. As I stated a few seconds ago, this is a priority of mine to work toward addressing this. I have committed to meeting with the swim coach of the girls team to have more of a conversation about other challenges that they may have encountered as members of our swim team. So once again, I want to applaud the young ladies who were courageous enough to email me, to share what your concerns are. You know, I applaud students who stand up and do it in the proper way of standing up by articulating the concern, but also, and just as importantly, asking to be a part of the solution to address the concern that they're confronted with.
Are there other citizens' comments? Like popcorn.
Good evening, Madam President, board members.
Good evening.
Dr. Superintendent Gully Stanford, 181 Marshall Road. Couple of things. First, I have come from a really extraordinary meeting which featured many of your students. I hope you are gradually becoming more familiar with the County Executive's program, Path to Promise. And this is the County Executive's proposal to coordinate county services and community-based services to adequately serve the needs of our youth right across the county in areas such as learning, safety, material needs, physical and mental health, and family relationships. One of our mantras is nothing about me without me. And so we have had 2 youth summits. I think you're familiar with that, one last December and one in August. And today was the first meeting of the regional youth summit for what we call Greater Poughkeepsie. And we had representatives of Poughkeepsie City Schools and Arlington High School, and then some young people who are out of school, alas, but have needs, as every young person has in order to succeed. It was a wonderful conversation, and it will continue, and I wanted to thank particularly Mr. Wilson and Mr. Johnson, who attended, but also ensured, among others, that we would have good representation of the Poughkeepsie City Schools. So thank you for that. This is a marathon, or as I heard this morning, it's a relay and not and not a sprint. And relay means partnerships, and we are looking forward to a very strong partnership. And I'm also looking forward to ensuring that this aligns with the Children's Cabinet, which I know is something you're working on with the city in the interests of our students. The other thing is I do want to share with you now formally that the Poughkeepsie Public Schools Foundation is being revived in order to raise money for programs that our students and teachers need that are not covered by the school budget or by other sources. We will look forward to having ex officio representation of the Board of Education and of the administration, either yourselves, Madam President, Dr. Superintendent, or your designees, and hopefully you received an invitation for a gathering on the 1st of October at 4:30. We're going to have an orientation there, and we're looking forward greatly to getting out in the field, and without crossing wires with other excellent fundraising activities that go on right across our community to raise money to address the needs of our students and teachers, and I'm done on time.
So, Mr. Stanford, a couple things. One is you did mention the Children's Cabinet, and our community members and students will be hearing more and more about that. I'm not going to get into that now, except to say that the county, there was a Ron Hicks, which is a representative from the county executive's office. It was a part of those meetings. He was a part of the meeting at Harvard University, which a good number of us went up to attend. And so he's been in the forefront of that. The superintendent, and again, we're not going to delve into this too much, except to say that the superintendent and the mayor of the city of Poughkeepsie will be co-chairs of the Children's Cabinet, and they will be forging ahead, but we're looking to collaborate. One of the things that we talked extensively about is not just another organization or entity, but for everyone to be pulled together. This is a national initiative, and it's an initiative that will be run through the city government and not specific to whoever's in office, just like it's not going to be specific to whoever the superintendent is. It's going to be something that we're looking at from a sustainability perspective, and that will be ongoing, because the bottom line is it will be beneficial to the students, to the children in the city of Poughkeepsie, and not just black and brown students, but all students within the city of Poughkeepsie. So that's something that we all look forward to, and Pathways to Promise is also going to be an intricate part of that. And Ron Hicks, we've already spoken to that directly, as well as there's another organization, and I see both Councilman Cherry and then a staff member, Cherry, here. I'm just going to ask you, so Ms. Cherry, can you tell us, what was that other organization that you came and presented to the district, and there were a lot of different, was that Pathways, or was that a different entity? Right, the Youth Coalition. That's what I've been trying to remember, Dr. Rosser. I've said it recently. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but that's another organization that is composed of a plethora of organizations in the city of Poughkeepsie and groups that deal specifically with children. And it was very seated, and I don't know where it stands. That's something we can have a discussion about as we pull all of these pieces together. And I know that Ms. Cherry is also very much aware and involved in the Children's Cabinet in her as in her public service sector as a council member of the 6th Ward. So we're going to look to just bring all of these pieces together so that we can operate in a comprehensive, cohesive way. Other citizens come. Oh, there was another thing. So I don't know if I responded, Mr. Stanford. I will not be available October 1st. However, we did receive the evite, and there will be representation from the Poughkeepsie City School District on October 1st at 4:30. Other citizens' comments, please?
Good evening, my name is Jacqueline Creedy. I live at 54 South Randolph Ave. I have two children. My daughter just spoke. She's here in the high school, and then I have my son who's in 5th grade at Krieger. I'm here to discuss Krieger. The dismissal procedure or lack thereof is extremely concerning. Basically, all of the children are left in the cafeteria who are either walkers or getting picked up. You're supposed to sign out your children. Not a single time this entire year have I seen anybody ID a single adult walking in or out of that school with children. With the times that we live in, we have to do better. You know, there's kids walking, there's adults in and out, and it's extremely scary that somebody can walk in and take my son, or my son can walk out of that building and nobody would know, because nobody is monitoring any of the doors leaving Krieger at all. And I just think that I spoke to one of the administrators in the building, but I think as the board and the superintendent, you all also need to be made aware of this.
Did you speak with the building principal or an assistant principal?
I spoke to Mr. Weir.
Okay. What I would advise you to do, and I've taken note, but as a parent, I want to make sure that you're empowered to understand that you can have a conversation directly with the building principal. If you have a conversation with the assistant principal and the assistant principal is not responsive, then the building principal, who I hold accountable for things, would be the next person that you would have the ability to speak to.
I understand that. I sent emails out, I believe it was Tuesday morning, to both of them, because that's what Mr. Weir had
Okay.
advised me to do.
Well, what I will do is I will ensure that Mr. Noto, the building principal, contacts you within the next 2 days to discuss your concerns.
I mean, it's not even just my concern, you know, because as a whole, you know, we have to worry about
Right.
our entire district.
And when I say your concerns, the concerns that you're articulating on behalf of parents. So when he speaks with you to get more of an understanding, he will then be able to address it not only for your child, but for the entire school population that's subjected to what you're articulating as your concern.
Ms. Creevy, if you would, please speak to the board clerk and leave your name
Yeah.
and your phone number now. But on behalf of the Board of Education, we want to apologize because you're 100% spot on. School safety is everyone's business, and we thank you for coming to the microphone to voice this. Of course, the board and even the superintendent would not be privy of, and he's a new superintendent, so he certainly would not be privy to what occurred last year. However, we do take school safety and the protection of our children extremely seriously. The board does, and so as such, I'm glad that you did report this. And you're saying, I just want to be very clear that this occurred even last year, correct?
Yeah. Last year, they were, I believe, in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and for the first day or two, IDs got checked.
Right.
But even there was side doors being opened, kids walking out, and it's very scary. We
Yeah.
live in a time that unfortunately that can't be happening.
Absolutely.
You know, I entrust you with my children for 6 to, she's been here since 7 o'clock this morning, you know, and it's alarming.
Right. Well, we're legally bound through the SAVE legislation, Safe Schools Against Violence in Education, that's one thing. But then 2, it's just good culture and climate, 2. And then 3, from a best practices perspective, it is our job to ensure that not only are your children safe, but that parents feel that their children are safe. And so we're definitely going to be addressing this. I know under this leadership, one of Dr. Rosser's competencies is around school safety, and I can guarantee you that this will not only be looked into, but it will be rectified.
I mean, 2 years ago, the way they released was great, you know, and we've been told by different administrators in Krieger that we can't do that anymore. Yet every other elementary school, you know, they're still releasing the same way that Krieger used to. You know, the teachers would bring them out to separate doors depending on their grade level, and at least then a teacher, you may not have necessarily need to sign out your child or provide an ID, but one teacher with 20 kids is a lot better at monitoring adults than 5 adults in a cafeteria with, 150 kids?
Right.
So what I'll do is I have Ms. Rabinowitz who will follow up with you, get your name, your contact information, and then she will follow up with Mr. Noto tomorrow morning. And at my request, Ms. Rabinowitz, if you can have Mr. Noto follow up with this parent to hear her concerns, which articulate the concerns of a larger group of parents. Thank you very much. Right here, yeah, Sharon.
I mean, I as a parent that has 2 children, or actually one's at the middle school now and one's at Krieger, I can speak a little bit to the reason that it shifted to going indoors. And I may be incorrect, but from what I understand happened was there were complaints from, I believe, parents that when there's poor weather, then what do we do? I do think that the outside dismissal is definitely more effective than the inside, and safer, and also, yes, a teacher being able to monitor who their students go to is much easier. But from my recollection, it came down to when there was poor weather, then there was kind of no backup. And so that's why they shifted the dismissal into being indoors all the time, and not being outdoors all the time.
It's something that we would have to look into and allow data to drive the processes as well as the sentiments of the parents and then what's in the best interest of students. So the important thing is that you've brought it to the attention of the superintendent and it will be looked at, and we'll look at a holistic way that we can deal with this that meets the needs of everyone and ultimately provides safety for our students, because that's our bottom line, our obligation. So thank you so very much. Are there other citizens' comments? There being
Morgan Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York.
I'm sorry, sir, can you speak into the microphone?
Tron, Morgan Avenue, Poughkeepsie.
Your last name, sir?
Melton.
Okay. I mean, I know you, but there's, policy 2370.
Okay. First, I'd like to say, God bless. The problem I'm having is with the after-school program. I was informed that there wasn't going to be an RFP. And the way that it was explained to me, the way that he explained it to me, if this had been happening at the beginning, few of the people would not even be in the after-school program because they wasn't there at the beginning. I advocated for people like Nubian Directions and so forth. They wouldn't be in the program if it was up to the way he explained it to me, that they're going to go through the ones that they picked at the beginning, and they're going to get the funding all the way through, unless they're evaluated out. Now, that's an exclusion to me. And the last board tried to do the same thing, but then spoke up and they changed their mind because they felt that it was unfair. But if you go through with this, you will be excluding people that, or organizations in our community that may want to be involved. Now you have, say for instance, Vassar. I love Vassar. The problem is they got millions of dollars at their disposal. They got many grant writers, and yet they take this little $63,000 that could have went to a community organization. I mean a real community organization in the city of Poughkeepsie. The kids that see these people walk down the street and so forth say, okay, they from my area, I know them, and so forth. You're not going to get that with Vassar. Vassar does what they do. They've been doing the VASS program all these years without getting money from the city of Poughkeepsie School District. But now we're giving them $63,000, which could have went to others that are no longer here are getting that money. Now, the way it was explained to me, they will also keep the same amount of money. But Real Skills is getting less money than when they started. So that's not being truthful in that assertion. See, so it's all over the place. And to me, being that we're in a district where 90% of the children are Black and Latino, they do not have people that look like them that's in charge of these programs. 250,000, none of our local programs are getting that. None of our local organizations are getting that kind of money. But other organizations are getting that kind of money. And I'm not saying whether they deserve it or not. That's not my point. My point is that we need to be able to get that money to these organizations that's out there. And by you not having that RFP, you are excluding people in our community, that these are our children. You are excluding them. And I'm not saying whether it's meant to be a black and white thing, but it is. It is a black and white thing. Because the white organizations are getting $250,000, while the black organizations are getting $50,000. That doesn't seem fair to me. I don't know what numbers that you think, or because to do $250,000, you have to have 156 children in that program. And doing 1 hour a day, then split it up, that's not fair to our children. 1 hour a day, 2 days a week, or 2 hours a day, 2 days a week, and then split it up with two others, and then split it up here, you're doing a disservice to our children.
Mr. Tron, if you can, or Mr. Milton, excuse me, if you can, because you're 3 minutes. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Time is up. Okay, Dr. Rosser, would you
So-
like for me to address it, or would you like to
Well,
address
why
it?
don't you start?
You want
and
me
then
to
I can-
start?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, Mr. Mario Johnson is sitting here. He is the director of the after-school programs, and I just want to give him a hand. He's done a phenomenal job. Let's just give him a hand. He has been wonderful. So just so you know, I'm going to frame this for you. Usually I don't talk about what I do. Most people don't know what I do for a living. So I'm the director of the statewide technical assistance center that deals with after-school programming for a totally different grant. It's a federal grant that flows through the state. So when it comes to after-school program, a couple of things, and we just want to fact check, so get the information out there. So this isn't a black thing and this is not a white thing. That's the first thing. Secondly is that when an organization chooses to submit for a request for proposal, which is what an RFP, the acronym for an RFP, they can submit for whatever amount they want. One of the things that this board did for this batch of Empire funded programs is we did it across the board. Everyone, any application that came in, we allowed each of them to be funded, and there was allocation that was tied directly to it. Some of them had to be tweaked a bit as far as the monies, because when we made a decision to divvy it up across the board. So for example, if there was an RFP, the proposal that they wrote for that was for, say, $80,000, in order to have the equity factor to disperse the money, we allowed them the opportunity to select it if they chose to. Say if we took it down to $70,000, and they had the option to either accept that, to provide less services to less students, or to not accept it and just say, you know, we don't want it. The Empire Grant is a 5-year funded program through the Office of Children and Family Services. In all of my 22 years of dealing with state and federal grants, those grants, typically the funding and the state as well as the feds, their preference, the board used to, not this board, the previous board would do annual sometimes, and I can't speak 100%. I've been on the board for 5 years, and they might have done some of those things. The Office of Children and Family Services balked against that because a part of their mission is to look at it when they fund a program for 5 years, and hopefully the funding will be in the state budget or the federal budget. That doesn't always happen either. But they like to look at the cohort beginning to the end of that cohort for that specific round. And so it is atypical, highly atypical, that every year they would be switching up. The data are king, and the data drives the processes, and that's what the state as well as the feds are looking at. You don't have to take our word for it. You can call the Office of Children and Family Services. So the Poughkeepsie City School District was actually dinged because they were operating in those practices, as I say, that is not the way that the grant is supposed to be executed. And just like local entities have to compete for a request for proposal, so do many times school districts and entities. The difference with this is that the Governor Mario Cuomo, when this district lost our 21st Century Community Learning Centers funding, these dollars came out, and because we are what they classify as an urban and poor school district, we fell right in there in a nice way to receive these fundings for 5 years, these Empire State Grant dollars, and that's how it came to be. And if you look at and so there was no RFP, the district did not have to apply for a request for proposal ourselves. So I want to be very clear with facts, and that we operate in facts. And one of the things that this board is really focused on and moving forward, because we do have a CEO, a chief executive officer, who's a superintendent of the school district, is that we catapult from a strong place. We need to be strong in what we do, and we need to base it upon education law, policies, procedures, and guidelines, and that it cannot be based upon our emotions or what we think or past practices, because sometimes past practices were not what should be done. So if there's a question, then it's important for us to get the facts. And if it's something where we received, when we look at past practices, we say, well, it used to be done that way, then my recommendation is to question, okay, why the change or what is the change, so that we receive information, so that it's not, well, we used to do it that way, so that's the way it should be done under this leadership and under the experience that this superintendent has. There's going to be probably quite a bit of change when it comes to ensuring our kids are safe, ensuring that programs are operating optimally, ensuring that taxpayer dollars are being spent optimally, and these are things that will be taking place. So I just wanted to set that record straight. Now, specific to Mr. Johnson, as I said at the onset, Mr. Johnson has done a stellar job in codifying everything specific to the after-school program, and there's still some areas, I know he was speaking with the superintendent of creating a rubric. There has been evaluation for these programs, and as he said, the only way that a program that was accepted, and if someone did not apply, we can't help that. So if they did not submit an application for the RFP, that is not, the onus is not on us. However, this board had put in place that the way that program, and when we did it across the board, the way that a program would not be funded is if they were evaluated out. And I know that at the end of this school year, the past school year, the 17-18 school year, that Mr. Johnson delivered on evaluations, very thorough evaluations with specific information, areas in need of improvement, and so forth and so on. And he presented that and had a whole discussion with the superintendent of schools regarding that. So again, I want to reiterate that the grant funding is for 5 years for the Empire Grant. If a program did not apply, then hopefully, I know that we just got word through the Office of Children and Family Services that there's a round 2 coming out of Empire funding. My recommendation to anyone that knows of a program and I don't know, Dr. Rosser, if we will have to apply, or are they going to do the same thing and just, are they planning, will we have to, will there be an RFP? And I'm not, and I read it and I just don't remember. I did
So
a
for
scan.
I call it Empire State Grant Funding 2. With that line of funding, we will, as a district, as we had to, apply for the first round of Empire funding to support our after-school program. We'll need to do the same thing for the second round as well. So we too, as an organization, will have to make application to the state for the funding for the round 2 grant that's being provided, that is due next month, early next month.
Okay, so that will be coming out. So if we receive those dollars, and we will know probably soon enough, typically there's usually a 6 to 8 week period. And then once we know that those, if we have been a recipient of those state dollars for after school programming, then my recommendation for individuals that are interested in having your organization be a part of that funding is to make sure that you apply. But you can't be in the game, you can't be in the game if you don't apply for the game, and that's very important. When I say the game, I'm talking about the provision of after-school programming.
Yeah, what I would like to say too, just to conclude the comments related to this, we're very much open for community-based organizations to be a part of what we're doing as a district to meet the needs of our children. Currently in the district, there is limited funding that we receive from our state and our federal grantors. We are looking for new funding opportunities, and once we identify those new funding opportunities and receive them in district, we will be asking for community-based organizations who have a track record of meeting the needs of children, who can produce evidence that they can deliver on goals that we set for them. We will be providing opportunities for those organizations to also apply for grant funding from us.
Thank you, sir. So we're going to close our citizens' comments. Okay, Ms. Norwood just arrived. We were going to shut down citizens' comments, so you're going to get in there.
Hi, everybody. So there's been some questions about ELC security measures. I don't know if you guys discussed it because I did come in late. But I don't know if you guys have visited ELC and seen that they're now releasing students at the back door. But when they release them, there's generally 2 security guards. One stay at the door to let more families in, and one go and actually get the child. So I just want to say that I really think it's important that we keep the security there. I don't know the background of it, but it has been brought to my attention. And it's not that we're protecting them from each other, we're protecting them from the community. Because anybody can come through that back door, you know, so that's a big concern of mine. We also discussed about routine lawn care in the front. The kids do plant gardens out there, so we don't have anybody that's routinely going out there to actually cut the grass or getting out the weeds for the kids. So we were looking into that as well.
Right.
So my biggest concern is the security. I mean, we can always go out and cut it. I can get something to cut the grass, right? Not a problem. But my biggest issue is the concern of protecting these scholars from the outside public and not from the school itself or the students. It's the outside that we're concerned about.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Norwood. You know, you're always appreciated to be at the mic and to share with us some of the things that you have come across as your role as one of the parent leaders in our district. Ms. Hardiman, the building principal, did bring to my attention some of the concerns that she had regarding the dismissal of students and the security monitor at her school. I have informed her, and she's fully aware, along with Mr. Hodge, that we will keep the security there until we can make some different adjustments to the entrance to the building, which currently is closed off, which is requiring us to use the back entrance. As it relates to your other point about the lawn, one of the things that my team and I have been doing is really assessing and evaluating where our resources are in the district and how we're allocating our resources. It is very important to me that the facade of our schools, you know, is impeccable in terms of the way they look. I have talked to Mr. John Willoughby as well as Steve Schloika, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations, about ways in which we can increase the number of maintenance and ground staff members to be able to take care of our lawns in a much better way in which we have done in the past. We are at a turning point where we're almost about to, we're as I like to say, we're uniquely positioned to be able to move forward with increasing the number of staff members, but we still need to do some of the financials around it, but that will be happening in the very near future.
Thank you. Participation in government students, please stand up. All participation in government students. Yeah. Okay, we're going to, first of all, let's give them a hand. They are wonderful. Poughkeepsie City School District's finest. We're going to ask you to come forward so we can sign your certificate so you can be out of here. Look, they're like, look at, she's like, hey.
I wanted them to stay until 10 o'clock.
No. Look,
And I'm
like,
joking
out. Look,
because one of the important things that we want our students to
I need
do
Maria Velasco to come
is
here.
to make sure that they have an opportunity to see how government works, but at the same time, not to the point where they are not able to get a good night's rest as well as to complete homework assignments.
Exactly. Get any board member to sign it, it's fine. You're welcome, Mommy. You look pretty, Booby. Oh, thank you, Booby. My babies.
Anybody else? You're welcome. Anyone else waiting?
Anybody else waiting?
You were asleep, huh?
Did you get your sign? Okay. Oh.
There you go, Tia. Hi, sweetie. Are you done? Oh,
You
you
can also
getting the
find
names?
pictures on the website.
And up there, you gotta look in, the pictures are out front too, FYI. Did you see the pictures? Go see the fabulous, wonderful, fierce, beautiful pictures up there, hanging up there. And then we're looking at you every day when you're walking through the hallways, just our eyes are on you. So don't even try it. Don't even think about it. All right. So, I probably should have asked the board, I apologize, before to switch up out of our agenda. Was it okay, board members? Okay.
You're fine.
Yeah, these are for our babies. They have school. So we're going to move into our consent agenda. Are there items to be pulled from our consent agenda? The meeting should actually be short, Ms. Clifford, Trustee Clifford.
Don't say that.
11.1.
Okay, 11.1, 8.2.
No, 8.2 doesn't need to be pulled, just needs to be an amendment to it's the type of-
So we have to pull it too.
Yeah, okay, got you.
10.4. So 8.2, 10.4, 11.1, I need you guys to look to make sure so we don't miss things. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding 8.2, 10.4, 11.1?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion regarding any of this? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 8.2?
So moved.
There's a discussion regarding that. There needs to be an amendment.
Right, let me just, because this is not matching up. Yeah, this is not the right one, so my apologies.
Okay, it's okay.
It's under personnel. Becky, under 8.2 on the computer is different than what's on the screen. Under personnel? Well, I take that back. No, my apologies.
Is it 8.2 or 8.20?
Hold on, let me find it. I just
It's
had
okay, take your
It's
time.
8.5.
8.5?
8.5. 8.2 is okay. It's 8.5. My apologies.
Okay, is there a motion to exclude from the consent agenda that we just voted upon, agenda item 8.5?
So moved. Second.
Is it 8.5?
It's 8.5.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 8.5?
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion. I believe our superintendent needs to make an amendment to this.
Right, so the position that's being requested to be created on the board docs indicates as Executive Director of Curriculum and Instructions. It should be Curriculum and Instruction.
Okay, singular, not plural.
Exactly.
Okay, sir, thank you so very much. Is there a motion to approve? Any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve agenda item 8.5 with the amendment of deleting the S from instructions?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 10.4?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Yes. So I really have some concerns about this agenda item. So I just wanted some questions that I had to answer. It appears that this is a CBO that has several different grant funding sources. And after looking at the contract and just looking at their scoring, but I want to first say, I want to thank Mr. Johnson for coming up with an evaluation. This is my third year on the board, and this is the first time that we have some type of evaluation tool to monitor the CBO. So I just want to say thank you very much. It really made a difference to really understand what's going on. But with that said, I really have some concerns about this particular CBO. I want to know how many students are attending the ELT. They also have an Advantage grant. I want to know how many students are attending the Advantage grant, because when I look at some of the documentation that's been provided, and me personally, it looks like there's a possibility of some double dipping. So I really would like to see the attendance sheets. And my second major concern is, it appears that the CBO had been charging for some additional services that they were providing. So that's something else that I would like clarity on.
Okay, so it's my recommendation then to the board that we pull this specific agenda item and that the documentation is provided to the board. I think what Trustee Long would like to see is attendance sheets, because when an agency is funded by multiple funding sources, we want to ensure that there's clear delineation for that specific time of, so we know that this funding source has Advantage dollars also through the Office of Children and Family Services. So the sign-in sheets, the board would like to see them, okay? Sure. So Mr. Johnson, if you would like to have remarks regarding that, but we'll just pull this item. We have another board meeting, and then we can entertain it once the information is reviewed.
Okay, I understand the request from Board Member Long. I have the attendance sheets for the early learning time, the ELT, but I do not have attendance sheets because that was a separate grant by family, by the organization. They kept their own attendance.
I will foil it.
So what I would recommend, based upon the allegations that have been brought forth and brought to my attention, that we do move forward with pulling this item so that you and myself, Mr. Johnson, can investigate some of the allegations that have been raised today at tonight's meeting, okay?
Sure, thank you.
And I just want to clear, when the superintendent says allegations, it's not the typical legal term allegations. What he's talking about, what is being alleged, so that we can receive the information to move forward. So
Yes.
we're not talking from a legal perspective or something that's unscrupulous. We're talking just as far as confirmation from a compliance perspective to ensure that the board members receive the information, because it is our fiduciary responsibility to ensure that when we vote upon information, that we have the documentation to substantiate it, and it is only driven from that perspective. So is there a motion to table agenda item 10.4 for this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11.1?
So moved. Bullet.
Second.
Okay, this agenda, so we're going to actually pull this resolution per the superintendent because there's additional information that he needs to look into specific to this. So is there a motion to pull agenda item 11.1?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We're going to move, that does it for our consent agenda.
Action items.
Yay. So we're moving fast. We're going to get you out of here, quick, fast, and in a hurry. You get out of here, we get out of here. Okay, we're going to move to our, there's two areas, actually. There's the Board of Education action items. And the first one is agenda item 13.1, and it's approval, and you could read it for yourself. So there's two different conferences. There's one, I know that there will be, for Rochester, we're looking for a board member to attend that, to represent us for the vote. Okay, is there a motion to approve this resolution, agenda item 3.1?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve? One of the things for this, given that this should have taken place in advance, but since we don't know who's going to Rochester, this already did occur for the other trip. We need a request to attend a conference. This is the protocol by policy. Request to attend the conference. We need the costs, and that should be stipulated in the request to attend the conference. So just so we know that whenever we're doing any trip outside of New York State or any conferences where there will be expenses for a board member, that the request to approve a conference has to be presented beforehand. For one of these, it's already been done. For the second one, it has not been done. So what we're doing is we're leaving it open that whichever board member does, you have to get the request to attend the conference and through the board clerk, get the dollars aligned. We still have a little bit of time. And whichever board member that is, you will be representing us at the state conference and voting. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 13.2?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. None opposed, motion carries. And then there's an item that's being brought onto the agenda. Is it possible for us to pull it up so that our community can see it? Thank you. We want to, while Ms. Torres is pulling it up, we want to give kudos to her because she streamlined the system, extremely effective and efficient. We now, before the meeting is over, the minutes many times are done. I've never even heard of that from any board. So she's taken the board clerk position to a whole other level, and she's doing a lot more creative things. And she's going to be doing a presentation at some point down the pike to look at some of the things that she's doing and how it's going to help our general community when you go to board docs to look at agenda items or when you go looking for previous information. So agenda item 14.1 is approval of a settlement agreement, and it says, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Poughkeepsie City School District hereby ratifies a resolution agreement regarding a particular student with a disability discussed in executive session, a copy of which is incorporated into the minutes of this meeting. Given that it deals with the student, we know under FERPA that there can be no further discussion. So is there a motion to approve the resolution as stated?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion regarding anything? None? at all, not specific to the student, just in general. Okay? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. At this time, we're going to go into comments. We're going to open up comments by our Superintendent, Dr. Eric Rosser, followed by Trustee Reeser, Trustee Clifford, Trustee Martinez-Leffert, and Trustee Long.
Okay, but before we go into my comments about the start of school, I want to acknowledge some of our newest members to our family. We have Lynn Albuquerque, who will be a science teacher at...
Can you please stand?
Yes. She will be a science teacher here at Poughkeepsie High School. We have Keith Brimmer, who will be a social studies teacher here at Poughkeepsie High School.
And Keith, who is that with you? Oh. We celebrate the families.
Yeah. We have Eric Brillon, who will be a technology teacher at PMS.
All right.
And actually, I had an opportunity to visit your class on the first day of school, maybe, or was it last week? Okay, all right. I've been at PMS a couple times since the start of school, and he's doing a great job with his students. We have a John Martino, ELA teacher at PMS, Poughkeepsie Middle School. Okay. We have Caitlin McKinnon, who is an English teacher at PMS. Okay.
Well, let's give them both a hand. Yay!
Fiona McKinnon, who will be an English teacher at the high school.
Yay! Nice top.
And then we have Stefan Moore, who will be a science teacher at PHS. Okay. So I want to welcome you all to the family that is going to be the champions, or who are the champions for children here in the Poughkeepsie City School District. Of course, as educators, we have an obligation to meet the academic, the social, the emotional, and wellness needs of our children, to ensure that upon graduation, that they will be able to graduate and enter into a field career of their choice or a higher institution of their choice. I thank you very much for wanting to be a part of this family and being positioned to be champions for our children. Thank you. So I would like to go into just a brief narrative of where we have journeyed from since our last board meeting on September 4th. Of course, September 5th was the first day of school, and I will share with you that I was pleased to see that school got started in the good direction, on the right foot, as my grandfather would say. And in visiting all of the schools on the first day of school, teachers were happy to be there. Students were happy to be there. In many of the classrooms, they were engaged in instruction. Our families who were dropping students off in the morning were happy to be dropping their children off, and only Lord knows why. But I will say that the first few weeks of school had been great. I had an opportunity to also visit schools. Normally I visit schools on Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week, and each time that I've gone into a school, our building principals have been engaging, our teachers have been engaging, our students have been receptive to the learning and instruction that is taking place, and all of our support staff have been wonderful with the start of school. We're off to a good start, and the expectation is that we will continue to rise in terms of our ability to meet the needs of our children. I want to thank all of the staff members who are here today. I see one of my building principals back there, Mr. Scott. I see my executive director of school engagement, Mr. Wilson. Who else do I see in the crowd? I see Mr. Diavalar from the middle school, and I see a lot of support staff here as well. I want to thank you for your continuous effort to meet the needs of our children.
Trustee Reeser?
I'll just be brief. I'm excited about the new year, no doubt. I dropped off Sophie at Krieger, and I was taken aback by the comment from her teacher. She said, knowing that I was a parent, but also a board member, she said, "Thank you for your service on the board." And I said, "What?" I mean, I attend meetings, I read documents, I do my work as a board member diligently, but it's from 30,000 feet, right? Because we do governance here.
Right.
But this teacher is the one making the magic happen for Sophie. And I tried to say something like that. I didn't well, so I'm trying to do a better job with the better comeback to this thanks that I got, unexpected, from Sophie's outstanding teacher, who's making the magic happen for her, doing a fantastic job. As I know, faculty and staff across this district are welcome, again, to echo Dr. Rosser's comments, the welcome to the new faculty members. You've boarded a rocket ship that's taking off. And although everyone in this room knows that we're a work in progress, we're off to a great start this year. In large part, thanks to the leadership of Dr. Rosser. You've made an amazing difference in these 2 weeks of school. So I'm excited about the school year, just as I was at the last board meeting, and looking forward to what's going to happen this academic year. Thanks.
That's great.
My comment is actually with regard to the pool. I have some institutional memory when I look around. I was actually attending board meetings at the time that those panels were put in. And they're not solar panels in the way that we think of them, where they put energy back into the grid. It's actually it's called the heliocoil solar panel system that takes the water and heats it through the panels. And the pool blankets go hand in hand with those panels. Because obviously you don't get solar energy at night. The blankets keep the heat in the pool. The reason I'm bringing it up is because we have a fiscal obligation to our district and our taxpayers. Some numbers have been thrown around about how much it would cost to actually put the pool on its own heating system. I would really request that we take a look at what is going on with the heating system of the solar panels. To me, and I say a quick fix because we are in the throes of a capital improvement, looking at a capital improvement project, which I'm sure will include the pool and the heating system, boiler system that goes along with it. So when I say a quick fix, I don't mean as in a Band-Aid, but that perhaps the cheapest or the least expensive route for the district might be to really investigate what is wrong with the solar panel system that exists. It was installed in 2014, or at least that's when the project was started. That's not that long ago. Those systems are, supposed to last at least 12 to 15 years. So I just would like to request that that really be investigated, so that, once the girls' season ends, then the boys' season starts. And although the heating system for the school is what the pool system runs on, there were many practices last year during the boys' swim season where they didn't get to practice because the water was too cold. So it's not just a fall sport issue, it's a winter sport issue as well.
And let me just indicate that the team is already working on looking at the heating element that's there, and are going to be making recommendations to me as to how we can move forward with correcting the situation.
And I want to acknowledge all of the students that did stand up, and I believe Dr. Watson already said something similar, and you as well, Dr. Rosser. It makes me extremely proud when our students come to the microphone. I really feel like we're doing more than just teaching them in the classroom. When they have, as you said, the courage and the motivation and the commitment and passion to come up and speak. There's not a lot of teenagers that do that and do it with respect. And so I'm so proud of the students, all of the students in the school district. And I'm really looking forward to a fantastic school year. I know it's started out well for my daughter and her friends, and sounds like a lot of our other students. We're off to a good start, and it's very exciting. So thank you.
So I also want to reiterate what the other trustees have said about it's been a good start of the school year, and I'm super excited for the school year for all students that attend the Poughkeepsie School District. So I have just a quick something that came that was given to me on Monday. So it is the open house flyer for Krieger Elementary School. So one side's in English, and it's relatively correct in everything that's on the flyer. The other side is in Spanish. If nobody knows, I am a Spanish teacher. We speak Spanish at home. My husband is a native Spanish speaker. And I was horrified by the misspelling, the lack of actual words that actually mean something in the language that are on it. Krieger isn't even capitalized on the Spanish side. I'm not quite sure why, but I mean, I circled and read everything that's wrong. It's pretty much everything except for the times. So I was just really disheartened by, we're trying to communicate better with our families. And my husband looked at some of these words and was like, and I mean, even there's like this one statement here, I don't even really know what it's trying to say. And my husband was like, yeah, what? So, I just hope that we can do better and find better translators than, I even think Google would be better than this, but I don't say use Google. I never say that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
clearly specific to that, Trustee Martinez-Leffert, that's beyond, that's not a Google issue. There's the words there, they just don't make sense. They just don't, there's just no way, I mean, that is just a person that, even if they speak the language, then they can't write it. And we have that in English. We have people who speak English but can't write in English. So if you use that parallel, it was just really bad. There's things there. She sent it over to me, and I was like, we both were just in complete shock. There's so much wrong. So we want to make sure we rectify that, Dr. Rosser. Here's the thing that we have to understand is that, and this is for everyone, that as we build our organizational structure and we operate from an asset perspective, is every single notice has to be approved by the building level principal. Every single notice, and before postings, before things go out, it has to be approved, because then it gives Dr. Rosser the ability to check with the one entity that he should be checking with when the board brings something like this, which would be the building level principal. So for building level principals that are present, just know that that everything should be approved by you, because and not just because you have board members who have students in the district. That's not the purpose of bringing this out, but because the district wants to operate in excellence. We want to take it to another level, and under Dr. Rosser's leadership, we certainly can. I just want to clear up something else too before we go to Trustee Long, because I don't want to necessarily say it as a part of my remarks. I want to say it in sync with this. Is another thing, as we look at organizational structure within the district, and as we look at board policy, the board policy is very explicit in staff, board communications, as well as staff communication specific to the superintendent. And there was some question in there. I got a phone call specific to an email and an information that went out. And so when I was meeting with the superintendent, he wasn't even privy to it. And so one of the things that this board does not tolerate, nor will this superintendent tolerate, is moving outside of the organizational structure. We cannot, because in order for us to be strong, we have to build on a solid foundation. And that foundation means there's an organizational structure. Another thing is that unless Dr. Rosser says something specifically to any of us, then we cannot quote him as saying Dr. Rosser said. That unless it was directly to us, and even then, if it is, he should be CC'd, he would have to be CC'd on that correspondence. I know for me, when it comes to email, because things can be incorrectly stated, and I've read the emails, and I say this openly because it's something that we have to deal with, and I don't want this hardship on Dr. Rosser trying to figure things out. And as I just happened to be in his presence when when some of the information came over, I had already heard it earlier that day, and so Dr. Rosser, I just want to say that this board is very focused on ensuring that you as a CEO, that the buck stops with you when it comes to daily operations, and when it comes to governance, it deals with us, and anything in between that and around that should be dealt with you and whatever that you put out, but coming directly from you. And anything that you say to any of us should never be put in an email format and then cited as Dr. Rosser said. That is totally inappropriate from an organizational structure, and as we move forward, we have to operate from a structured way. And I know that, of course, Dr. Rosser, you can deal with building level principals or whomever that will take place. And this isn't a personnel matter. This is an organizational structure matter, and I state this openly because information came out openly, and in our efforts to be transparent and to be forthright, we want to make sure that we all understand that.
Can I just make one other quick comment? So I know we have 2 PTA moms here. If you ever need help translating something, please email me. I will help you immediately. And I also made, and if you have flyers that you know are like typical that you put out, I made like a cheat sheet just based on the flyer that I have. So like what it should say in Spanish minus all the other information. So if that's something you want me to, email it to you or give to you at the next board meeting, that's something that I can, finalize.
Trustee Long?
First, I would like to ask everyone if they could just take a moment of silence for Mr. Comunelli. Mr. Comunelli was my guidance counselor. He did pass several years ago. So I just want to take, he was an awesome guidance counselor. He was an awesome man. So if we could just take a moment of silence. I'm probably overstepping my bounds, but
Not at all.
No.
okay, so if we could do that, please, I'd appreciate it. Okay. So,
Can I just?
When did he pass?
Yeah, can I just, so staff, remind me when we meet tomorrow, particularly you, Cheryl, that we probably need to put together a letter, on behalf of the superintendent and the board that can go out to any of our former staff members or current staff members who passed, so that we can just send a letter of condolence to their family. That's something simple that we should be able to do, and that we should do in honor of their service to our district.
Trustee Long, when is this funeral services?
so I don't know if it's the funeral or calling hours. I have to really go back to the obituary. But I know it's 4 to 8 on Friday. I believe it's the calling hours. And then the service will be the following day. Don't
All
quote me 100%, but I do know for the funeral. But I know calling hours are 4 to 8 this Friday.
And let me just add, Mr. Comunale was a long time guidance counselor in the city of Poughkeepsie. Mr. Wilson, was he here when you were here? No. But for many, 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 many years, and I don't know what it is, so Dr. Rosser, thank you for being on top of that, because he was extremely valuable to this institution.
Okay. Second, I'd like to say thank you to all the staff. You have a tough job, and as the school year started off phenomenal, I just want to say kudos to you. I just have 3 announcements. So as the chair of the Construction and Facilities Committee, the comprehensive capital project, we have completed all the assessments. We are now beginning to work on pictorials, and we would like to put a pictorial in every single school.
Nice.
The superintendent's
All right.
office, central administration, and it's going to be before and after. Now, I'm going to put this out here. It's not going to be the exact. This is just something that we want to show you after all the assessments have been done. I want to say kudos to the Natasha Cherry and all her colleagues who are working on Friday Night Lights. It's scheduled to begin Friday. Yes. So I will be there, and I just want to say thank you for stepping forward. And then I just want to remind everyone that Autumn in the Park will be in Bartlett Park on October 5th from 12 to 4. And I just have to give a special shout out to Snug. Snug, I've been spending a lot of hours with the Snug staff. They have a lot of great things coming. They really want to get on board. They really want to begin to help our students. So I just want to say kudos to you, even though you take up all my time.
Middle of the
And
night
that's
and
that.
everything. Thank you, Trustee Long. So trustees, I had mentioned that, and this is going to be really quickly, we should be out of here within the next 5 minutes, is committees. So I just want to go over the ones that, and of course, as the board president, and I don't like to do things from a autocratic perspective, I'm just going to throw it out, and you tell me if you're interested. I'll tell you what I put down. So the audit committee is going to be the board as a whole for now. We're going to look to move into getting that as a viable committee. There are some people that we need to speak with, and I saw one of them today, but I just need to go over that with him. Common Council, for me, I'm the board member, committee member at large, so if anyone's interested in that, I'm going to go down the others first because I didn't have anyone for that. I don't want to tax you guys out too much. Construction and Facilities is Trustee Long. Curriculum is Trustee Martinez-Leffert. The school boards, I've been plugging into that periodically. I try to attend regularly. I won't be able to attend the upcoming one. I think Trustee Long, you said you would be able to attend.
I will be there tomorrow.
Health and Wellness will be Trustee Clifford. Parent and Community Engagement, and if you don't want any of these, please just say it. I put Trustee Clifford again. Policy, I put Trustee Andrew. And Save, I didn't put anyone yet for that. I can just put myself there. Okay, so Trustee Long is on that. So those are the committees that we have, and we'll have to do a board resolution, but I wanted to throw them out there for now that's what we have. We talked a little bit about the Children's Cabinet. Again, Dr. Roster is going to be talking more about that. We're super excited about the efforts and his vision. He, you know, Dr. Roster is doing his thing. I just want to let you guys know that we were at a meeting with the mayor's office, and in like 1 minute, he laid out a whole plan. We were all like, okay, I think we can do this. And from prenatal to 18, boom. I mean, that's going to be the initiative for this Children's Cabinet, and we're looking forward to that. This morning at the Chamber breakfast, Dr. Roster was acknowledged and welcomed to the Poughkeepsie community, and that was a really nice gesture. And then afterwards, there were some comments that were made, and I just wanted to say this: we don't have a jelly bag. He stands up, and when he hears or sees something that's just not quite right, he steps to the plate. And there was a couple comments that were made, and when they interviewed him, when the reporters came to him, he was setting the record straight, and then he went up to a specific individual and said, there's some misinformation according to my knowledge, and I would like the opportunity to meet with you. So there's great diplomacy, which is a beautiful thing, but he doesn't just let things lie. So that was, he made us very proud at that event. I see Mr. John Bradley here from Vassar College and the Urban Initiative, $2.25 million. We need to make some noise up in here. There may be a possibility that I will not be here. For our next meeting, October 4th, my lovely daughter's having a baby. Yay. The most important thing, that's right. And so,
That's the most important.
yeah. And even though she's having it, you know, she's my only child, so I may be gone for, I don't know, about 2 or 3 years. So if you don't see me anymore, it's been fun. It's been wonderful. So just keep the revolution going, keep hope alive, and keep the moving forward. So I'm not 100% sure, but so I will not be able to plug into some things that are happening in between there. The October 1st event, I unfortunately will not be able to attend Mr. Communali's funeral. I do want to say this, and I'm going to try and make the run before I fly out tomorrow. So Deborah, help me with the title for Palumbo. There are construction.
They are our construction manager. Yeah.
So our construction manager, I don't know if you read this, it's very sad. I don't want to get emotional. It's very, very sad. But 19-year-old, his daughter was in an automobile accident, and they had to put her in an induced coma. And so I text him, and
I can share with you, you know, I personally reached out to him as well as staff, and, you know, he replied today. And he said, thank you for the prayers. We need them. She's beat up pretty bad, but she's a strong, stubborn girl. So, let's all just keep, although you may not know him, whenever one of God's children, and I need to keep a separation between church and state, but, I'll say this, whenever one of God's children is hurt, we all need to, as a community, be able to rally around, and no matter what sort of, religious faith or affiliation you have, we as people need to make sure that we are rallying around the health and welfare of others, because one day it could be us,
That's
one day
right.
it can be our children. So even though you may not know Mr. Rodriguez, please make sure that if it's in your heart to simply send a prayer for his daughter.
And he thanked the Poughkeepsie family, because unbeknownst, this is how on Dr. Rosser's A game, I didn't realize that he had I didn't realize you sent a message. I sent a message on behalf of the board and the superintendent and all of us. And so he responded back, which I'll be honest, if that was my daughter, I don't know if I would be responding that soon in such severe crises. I'll be honest with you. So anyway, that's pretty much it from my perspective. I thank each and every one of you for coming out and for hanging in here with us. I do want to acknowledge all our assistant superintendents. Can you please stand? All of our assistant superintendents.
Dr. Tindike, Dr. Schloika, or Mr. Schloika, excuse me.
I
Mr.
always say
Hodge,
doctor. I don't know if you need to get one, because I say Dr. Schloika all the time.
Ms. Monona, and of course, Ms. Rabinowitz. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
And then we have building level principals that are here, building level principals, and they're not mandated to be
Right.
here.
Mr. Diavalar and Mr. Scott,
And then we have a central administration staff member.
Mr. Wilson.
So thank you all so very much for being here, and thanks to the board, each of you. You are amazing. This is an amazing board. Thank you so much for your commitment and dedication to the Poughkeepsie City School District. Is there a motion to adjourn out of this regular meeting on September 18th?
At 9:21 p.m.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you all for coming out and sticking with us.